I'm actually making a video pretty quickly after my last one. If you've seen it, I just made like a mental health Q&A, and I asked on Instagram suggestions of what videos you guys want me to make, and the main one that came up was relating to eating disorders. So that's what the video is going to be on today. So yeah, let's just get into it. First question. Do you think you can ever truly be free from an eating disorder? This is a really, really good question, and I don't know. Like, I said this, I think I mentioned this in my last video about it, like for you guys to comment on what you guys personally think about, can you ever truly recover from an eating disorder? I'm not sure. I kind of feel like something is still always going to be there, you know. I don't know, like people that I've heard of people that have said that they've fully recovered from their eating disorders, so you know, maybe it is possible, but personally I'm not sure if, you know, it ever it's like an addiction, isn't it? Like, say someone was an alcoholic and they were recovering, you know, it's very hard for them to just go back to having a drink occasionally or whatever and not going back. I don't know how to explain it. Like, really hope that it is true and you can fully recover. The answer to the question is I'm not sure. I think we all have different opinions on this topic, and I would love to hear your guys' opinions on it. Do you think that you can truly fully recover from an eating disorder? I do want to know, because I really don't know. That's such a tricky question. Do you think social media affected your ED in any way? Ooh, I would have to actually say yes. Especially like in my generation growing up, it did used to be there was a lot of thin spo and thigh gaps and all of that type of stuff. Like, you know, I thank God for the days like that are coming now where, you know, we're accepting everyone's bodies and stuff. I still feel it's a bit altered and it's not fully fixed, and you know, Photoshop and all that can do wonders. And angles, like you really never know from a photo. You can't compare yourself to a photo because like everyone does angles and gets their best, they portray their best images online, don't you? Like, you want to put your best out there, and you know, it's not that often you see the raw, unedited side. So I would say it does have an influence, and I'm very like fixated on like comparing myself to other people. I would be lying if I said that it didn't, like social media didn't affect me like with my eating disorder. It definitely didn't cause my eating disorder, but it didn't help it. So I would say that, you know, social media has a massive influence on especially young girls, but unfortunately we all want to put the best images on. Like, I'm bad for that. Yeah, I don't know, hopefully it's got a lot better over the years with accepting people's bodies and all shapes and sizes. But I would try to say, like, you know, as much as I've compared myself to others, try not to, because as I said, like everyone is posting their best parts, and you can't compare yourself, okay? That is the bottom line. Do not compare yourself to other people. How do you think mental health services could improve? Ooh, juicy. No, not really. I generally think there is a massive issue in mental health services with the support that is offered to people. Funding is the main issue. There is not enough funding for mental health. You know, they do need to sort that out. I think one really big turning point for them would be to have a place aside from A&E to go to if you're in a crisis or you've done something to hurt yourself or anything like that. They should have a specialised place for people with mental health issues, or like a specialist ward on a general hospital, all hospitals. You know, the NHS are moaning about there being such a high demand of mental health patients, and, you know, paramedics and stuff saying they've not got enough training in it. Like, there needs to be change or somewhere to go for these people so they can get treated. And, you know, it's in a nicer like people that are actually trained in the profession, like in the profession, and not just doctors at A&E that have no clue what they're, you know, don't really know what to say or do. I personally have had quite a big spectrum of like different views on mental health services, good and bad, but there definitely needs to be change in mental health services. And also, especially as this video is on eating disorders, there's massive issues with inpatient beds, and especially when you become in adults, you know, they kind of leave you to your own devices to a certain extent, and don't accept people until they're at their worst, and people have to feel like they have to get to that place in order to get better and get the help they need. And I just think it's outrageous. Like, BMI means nothing. It really does. You know, for example, like, my boyfriend is naturally really skinny, but I can guarantee he is he's a healthy BMI, even if it's a lower BMI, because he's skinny. That's his healthy. He's got a fast metabolism, and that's his healthy. And, you know, muscle weighs more than fat. So all these people that have bigger BMIs over whatever the healthy overweight is, they're not overweight. They're muscle. They're strong people, and under NHS guidelines and, you know, the BMI calculator, they are classed as overweight when they are obviously not. So to be honest, I will say it like bluntly, sorry if anyone under 18, BMI is bullshit. It really is. So it doesn't matter if you're a healthy weight and really struggling with your eating disorder, or if you're the lowest weight you've ever got to with your BMI and you're struggling, like, you know, no one should treat you differently. You have the same illness in the same category, and I just think it's a load of bullshit. And, you know, I've been at healthy weights and had anorexia. It's not about weight, it's about your mindset, and people really need to draw that into their heads, because these people are getting more unwell with their eating disorders because of the BMI calculator and what they think is healthy and not. So please just don't listen to that shit. Like, concentrate on what is your healthy and work with that. Do not even think about going into BMI calculators, because they are a load of shit, in my honest opinion. Pros and cons to inpatient and also community treatment. Well, I've never actually, because it's eating disorder related, I've never actually been admitted to a eating disorder clinic. Nearly, but there's two sides to me here, okay? I'll be brutally honest with you guys. One side of me is so grateful that I never got put in one of those clinics, because I've heard from my close friends and other people how much more triggering they are, and like how you can, you know, I can imagine how triggering it can be, and all these behaviours that people are doing, and being surrounded with people all having eating disorders must be a nightmare. And especially when, you know, you get the people that have just been admitted who are really poorly, and you're doing okay, getting a bit better, and you see them, and, you know, I can imagine how difficult that is. So part of me is so grateful that I've never been in one of the eating disorder clinics. But like, the eating disorder voice of mine is like, you were never ill enough then if you never got admitted to a, you know, inpatient unit. But it's like bollocks. Like, you know, I don't need to, you know, I'm not proud. Who wants to be proud of having, like, it's nothing to be proud of. It's an illness. It's not about weight. It's not all about weight. It's your mindset and how you view food. And, you know, if you have issues around food, that's an issue. That's something to worry about, because like a lot of people don't like go out for meals with their friends, and you know, it's a social aspect for them, and nobody, like, some people have no glimpses about eating. And you know, the people that really have the eating disorders, you know, even if they're healthy weights and they're really conscious of the foods they're eating or whatever, I don't know. Yes, I mean, I've been clinically diagnosed, and yes, I've not been to inpatient, and I have been poorly, but I just, there needs to be stigma broken about, you know, being ill enough to have anorexia or bulimia, binge eating disorder. Is that people's goals, to be inpatient and be, you know, have an NG tube? No, who wants that? Such a competitive illness. Like, if I compare my eating disorder to my BPD, okay, certain aspects in the past I have got triggered by things like behaviours of like other people with BPD and stuff, but for me, like, it's so weird, it's so hard to explain, but you know, your eating disorder almost becomes something that you're proud of. And I was never ever, you know, proud of having borderline personality disorder. I was ashamed. Like, that has been put as like an ashamed, like, people get ashamed of that. But yeah, with eating disorders, it's like, oh, you know, you have this like rush of power and success when people tell you things about how sick you look and stuff. And you know, it's a deadly illness. Like, it has the highest mortality rate of any other mental illness. And there has been healthy people that have died from heart failure and organ damage, perfectly healthy weights, and they're dead. The best anorexic is dead, okay? No matter what anyone tells you, like, you just need to fight your asses off and just be brave. And recovery is a freaking roller coaster. It really is. But it's so much better than living with an eating disorder. It really is. You know, I can truly say, as much as I thought that I was so proud of myself for, you know, being malnourished and whatever, or getting skinny or getting the thigh gaps or whatever, like, looking back on it in recovery, like, I was so unhappy and I wasn't living, and I've got so much more energy and just feel of life now. Like, really truly think about recovery, guys, because it's really not worth it. So I couldn't do the pros and cons of inpatient, but you guys can comment below. I have had inpatient with I've obviously had an eating disorder in inpatient, in other normal psych wards. If you want me to talk about that, guys, I will. And community treatment, yes, I have been in community treatment for eating disorders, and personally, I don't find it beneficial. Especially the team that I've got, the doctors and stuff, brutally dickheads. You know, some of you guys will know who I'm talking about if you live in my local area. And they really concentrate on your BMI in our adult services. I'm sorry, but it's so much different from children's services. Like, the difference between eating disorder services in adolescents and eating disorder services in adults is ridiculous. Like, they will not let you, they will get you inpatient so quickly when you're an adolescent, but when you are an adult, they fucking just leave you to your own devices, basically, until you're at death's door. It might have helped some people. I'll tell you what, it did help me in certain aspects with bulimia. I did have a bit of treatment for that with therapy, and that was helpful. When it came to my anorexia, it just made me worse, to be honest. It just made me feel like they wouldn't give a shit unless I lost weight at weigh-ins or whatever. And you know, they solely concentrate on weighing you every week, and the first thing you do when you walk into the room, that's not what you want to do. It's not. they don't have, like, there's not as much therapy based as there is monitoring your health. It comes together, okay? Like, the therapy is the main reason that you're going to get better. You know, people, like, there needs to be something changed with eating disorder community services in adults, especially. Just saying. What was your turning point when you realised that you weren't in real recovery? I just got to the point where I was so sick and tired of yo-yoing with recovery. And when I said I was in real recovery, most of the time I really wasn't. And you probably tell that from my Instagram. It takes a lot of willpower to push yourself into recovery. And my turning point was, you're gonna go into triggering, but like, things that happened, but there was a pretty, you know, massive thing with over exercising and stuff, and I was doing ridiculous things, and I just thought to myself, what is my life turned into? Really, what am I doing? And the real turning point for me was going into a relationship, to be honest, with Harry. That's when I fully started to embrace recovery. It's very difficult to get into real recovery.